If you had to pick one freedom that was that is the most essential to the functioning of a democracy, it has to be freedom of speech, because democracy means persuading one another and then ultimately voting, and the majority rules. You can't run such a system if there is muzzling of one point of view. So it's a fundamental freedom in a democracy.
Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. That line is from the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This freedom, the freedom to speak and express one's ideas, is an essential part of the American identity. Having the power to discuss disagreements is the cornerstone of our republic, and it is what keeps us from losing our freedom and democracy.
I think that freedom of speech has been part of the American experiment, and I think, notwithstanding the fact that free speech can be messy because people will say things that outrage us, and people will say things, quite frankly, that are stupid and damaging, that nevertheless that experiment has proved out well for the existence of the country.
Essentially what the Supreme Court said is you can either tolerate what these people are doing, or you can skip your own son's funeral. So,
not only is this freedom essential to America, but it's also unique in our power of commitment to it. This is the only place in the world where there is both a strong constitutional, cultural, and political commitment to this right. No other country enjoys this level of freedom of speech. Just ask our friends Dan from the Ukraine and Alma from Syria.
So while I'm not exactly sure about the laws, and I believe that it is said that you can express your opinions. However, if you do that, there is a very high chance that you'll be thrown into prison by either Supreme Court of Ukraine or sort of the government there, or you'll get assaulted on the streets for expressing those opinions.
And my country does offer freedom of speech, but not on every subject. So like I told you, it's politics and religion are the limits.
As we just saw, free speech in other countries is much more restrictive than it is here in the U.S. However, there have been attempts lately here in the U.S. to try to put restrictions on free speech that people find offensive or immoral.
Vice Media co-founder and actor Gavin McInnes was hit by pepper spray, according to school officials. McInnes was invited by the NYU College Republicans, but his speech was interrupted by demonstrators. The crowd kept chanting, and eventually he left the podium.
You have no right not to be offended. And you have no right not to hear views that upset you, and that the remedy for hearing something that you don't like is not to become outraged. It's not to curse on social media, but it's to respond to the idea that you don't like. And I hope that we don't lose that commitment and that sort of cultural belief that we've traditionally had.
While there are some limits on free speech in America, they are very limited in scope. For example, I cannot clearly incite an imminent lawless action, nor can I incite an immediate breach of the peace with so-called fighting words. I cannot take someone else's words and label them as my own. I cannot maliciously use words I know to be false in order to incur some sort of punishment or harm on someone's career or reputation. I cannot keep images of or participate in child pornography. There are a few other more specific limits. For example, networks like NBC and ABC cannot purposely air uncensored profanity. And some who hold specific positions, such as those in the military or those in schools, have certain limits based on their surroundings and what they can say. These limits on free speech should stay limited in nature. We cannot stop people from expressing themselves or speaking solely because we do not like what they have to say. It is this freedom to express and debate that truly makes the US of A the greatest country this world has ever seen. If we were to lose this freedom, all other freedoms would follow. Without the right to speak for yourself, there are no rights at all. If our founding fathers had failed to speak for themselves, none of us would be here today. America is a place of freedom. It is the land of the free. No right, power, or action is more defining of that freedom than the freedom of speech. For this reason, our right to free speech truly defines America. Without free speech, there is no America. Without America, there is no free speech. Thank you.